fellow gardeners, Dawn here from Seasonal Designs. Today I am going to tackle a couple of projects in the garden around the greenhouse, and I thought I would take you guys with me because there have been some changes there. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what's going on actually in the garden. Now what you're going to notice is the last time we were together, you recall the nepeta as well as the salvia were in full bloom and they were looking absolutely glorious. But they've been blooming for over a month now and they're done. So what we need to do is we need to come in and we need to cut some of that back so that both of them will flush again. However, something has taken its place, and that is that bright pink pop of color there. That is called Stakey's Humelo or Humelo. Come on, let's take a quick peek at it. It has this beautiful textured green foliage at the bottom, and it throws up these tall spikes, and at the top are these wonderful hot pink colors. Pollinators absolutely love this thing, and I have several patches of it throughout, of course, the bed here around the greenhouse. And then shortly thereafter, this allium here, which is starting to throw up its blooms, they will open up probably in another week or two, and these will be just a beautiful purple color. The other thing that looks different is this beautiful yellow yarrow. It is called Moonshine, and I just think it has a beautiful yellow color. I love the way, remember me, I like to plant things close together, how it kind of peeks through the stakes here in the front, and really nice and big and beautiful and really quite bold when planted here like this en masse. Just kind of weaving its way through the garden. And then the other thing that wasn't blooming is here in the back. There's a couple patches of the coreopsis, and that is golden showers. We'll walk back and take a look at that. So this is a nice tall variety. You can see it next to my Carl Forrester grass there. And I do love this plant. It has that beautiful, delicate foliage, but it really is a pretty tough plant. And I'll give you a quick peek at that bed in the front. Remember when we planted this, I think June 1st. It is now the 3rd of July, so it has been in for a month, and it is really filling in quite nicely. Everything is doing well. And then you can see that we do have a couple patches of the Pixie Meadow Bright Echinacea that is blooming as well. So right in here, hoping you can see that with my shadow here. And there's a second patch over here. And I would walk in there, but I do have a robin, and I've got 2 parents that are feverishly feeding the little one, so I really don't want to disrupt them too much. But here's that Pixie Meadow Bright close up. Really pretty plant. Look at all the buds coming. It is gonna be, it is a big bloomer. Well, let's talk about maintenance. I have gotten a lot of questions about what do I do to maintain my gardens. And when I plant and I choose my plants, I do try to choose plants that are fairly low maintenance so that I don't need to go through and fertilize, and I don't need to go through and, do a lot of work or water consistently or constantly. So that's what I try to choose to put into my garden space. So if we're talking about the gardens here around the greenhouse, pretty much everything that I have chosen is low maintenance. However, the first 2 years are really critical when it comes to watering. You want to make sure that you give the plants good moisture so that they don't struggle in the first 2 years. And really, once a lot of this stuff becomes established, a lot of it is fairly drought resistant. And as you know, when I plant something up for the first time, I mulch heavily around that area because that mulch is going to help maintain that moisture. Now, the only thing that I really need to do besides watering within the first couple of years is I do like to deadhead some of my perennials. And the two in particular we're going to talk about today, and pretty much the two I do around the greenhouse, are the nepeta and the salvia. And I do like to cut those back because when you do that, they are going to send up a new flush of blooms for you. And if you get rid of the old bloom stalks, you won't see those. You'll just see the brand new stuff. Now, you don't have to do that. So if you didn't want to do that, you absolutely don't have to, because there is color in those bloom stalks already. Not as brilliant, obviously, as the flowers, but they do have some color. So if you wanted, you could leave that up all summer long. But I'm going to choose this year to cut some of that back, and then we'll come back in another couple of weeks and we'll take a look at what that second flush looks like. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to give you some detailed pointers. It's really pretty simple on how to cut that stuff back. Well, this is pretty easy to do. One thing I will tell you, this is a tip, is to wear gloves because there are still some pollinators on here and you don't want to get stung in the hand by a bee because it hurts. I'm just going to come in, I'm going to grab a bunch of this, I'm going to take my shears and I'm going to snip it off. I'm taking about that much off of the plant, toss it in my bucket. I'm just going to come through. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to snip the whole thing just like that and get all of these spent blooms off of there. There's a bee. He wasn't happy, a little guy, but just gonna keep doing that all the way around the plant. Come in the middle, take some of that. Get as many of the spent blooms as I can. And if I give you a look at the center of this plant, it's already pushing out some new growth. It's that easy. Well, next up is the salvia. And this is really a taller plant that's a bit more dense. And there are, two different ways you can go about this as well. You can come in and you can take your snips and you can really cut it back in the same fashion that you did the nepeta by grabbing it and just cutting off some of the spent bloom tips, just like this. Or what I'm going to do, because I have so much of it, is I'm going to come in with the shears and I am going to shear off some of this spent stuff here. And yes, I'm shearing off some of the purple that's coming up, some of the new stuff, but there's not much. And then I'll come through and I'll grab all this off the top of the plant. And it's just a much faster way to do this. Otherwise, I feel like I will be out here for quite some time. So if I give you a close-up here, you can see that for the most part, I've cut right above some of the new buds that are forming. Here's another one. But for the most part, this already has new buds forming for its second flush. I took 3 different approaches to the salvia. This bunch right here, you can see I pretty much cut it down with my shears. But over here on this patch, there was a lot of blooms still in there. So I went at this one a little bit more piecey, using my hand snippers and getting out what I could. You can see there's still some of the spent blooms in there, but there's a lot of new buds coming on this one as well as the first one. And then this last one, I'm going to take an even different approach. This one, I think I'm just going to leave it just like this and see what happens, because it has still that kind of deep color to the spent bloom stalks, and there's new stuff coming up. I'm just going to see what it looks like, and then I'll have 3 different kind of ideas of, maybe I'll pick a favorite as to what look I like, and how well they flush the second time, and then next year I can do them all the same. That's my plan. Well, the other thing I really want to do today is I need to get these beautiful delphiniums into the ground. Now, these were started from seed a couple of months ago. I've potted them up twice now, and I feel like they have a good root system that they are ready to go into the ground. So we're going to go look for a space in one of my gardens, and we are going to plant up. I've got this flat, and I have about another half flat there behind me. We are going to go plant these up, and we'll talk about kind of how to plant these up, the care of delphiniums, and so on. So let's go find a spot. All right, so it is going to be shady over here, but that is on purpose for me to work. When I'm done, I'll show you when there's a little bit more sun kind of where we're putting this. But remember, this is the new bed we planted up in my last video. And then this is the bed that is in front right here across the drive from the house. And there's not a ton blooming in here. I mean, there are things that are starting, the blanket flower, but a lot of this blooms end of July and all through August. Now, I have a spot that I think this is going to work in, and that's right here, right behind my hot pink bee balm here that'll be blooming probably in another couple of weeks. You can see buds already coming. Where I want to put this, the delphiniums, is right in here where you see the dead or the spent blooms of my allium. And I left those up. I leave them up for a while. I kind of like the way they look, but I left them up so I know where the allium are, so that when I plant the delphinium, I kind of had an idea so I don't hit the bulbs. This is a phlox, and I have a lot of phlox in here, and it's not even a phlox that I planted in here. No idea where it came from. Maybe a bird helped me and, you know, pooped it into my garden somewhere, but I have it everywhere. That's phlox, and it's spread kind of in through here. You can just see I have so much of it that it can stay here. It looks nice with the black-eyed Susans. It's just kind of mixed into everything. And when it blooms, it really is pretty, but now it's starting to go this way, and I don't really want it here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to remove the nice mulch. I'm going to dig this out, and then this is where we're going to put some of the delphinium, and I think I might be able to get them all in there. And if not, there is a little spot right behind here that I can put a few more. That's my plan anyways. And I'm not saving this. I'm just going to dig it out. It's going in my mulch pile. I just have too much of it. It spreads everywhere. Oh, it is so dry, you guys. Whew. Super duper dry. it's cleared out. I have most of the mulch pulled away, and I am simply going to lay out those delphiniums right in here. It says to space them 1 to 3 feet apart. All right, so I have 13 of these total. So I'm going to lay out what's going to fit here, and then there's another area behind this where I'm going to put the rest of them, because they're not all going to fit in here. But they are looking really, really good. Let me give you a close-up here. They really are looking good and healthy for the most part. So we'll get these laid out here. These are multicolored. Different colors of blues, purples, and whites. I don't know what's what, so doesn't matter. We're just gonna lay them out. I have them spaced out in here, and then, you know, I have a path that's right here in the back, right along here. So these are gonna get like 3 to 5 feet tall. So you'll be able to see these most likely not only from the front side, but definitely from the back side. So I've spaced these out here. And I'll be curious to see which ones do better, because obviously these are not going to get the sun that's going to come from an angle, because these plants right here, my coneflowers, are already pretty tall. But I know that delphiniums like full sun, but they do like to have their roots in shade. So these roots will be in shade. But there's nothing above these, so they'll get sun when the sun comes over the tree line, and then for a good portion of the day. Versus these are going to get it all day and probably late afternoon sun as well. So I'll have to be a bit more vigilant with watering of these guys here for sure. Now I just have to get them in. I'm going to be using some plant tone. It's just an all-purpose fertilizer from Esproma. I'm going to mix this into the soil when I plant these up. Now this is in the sun here. That's the garden we just planted up together. And then this is the bed here, this existing bed, which doesn't have a whole lot going on right now. Shasta daisies are in bloom, but the coneflowers will come next. And then right in here is where we have the delphiniums. So still a lot needing. I've got the Veronica here. That is just starting to color up. I have some bee balm there, some Monarda. I have some Supertunias I had left over. I thought I would pop them in here. I don't know, they're not looking the best, but some of my yarrow is starting to color up. But then this here is a huge patch of echinacea that will still bloom, along with some Shasta daisies, which are going, Stelladora daylilies. Then this is that path to my woods, and oh, there's a monarch. I see it. I don't know if you saw that. And then right through here, the back, this path that divides the woods from this other garden bed. Here's where we put the rest of the delphiniums. And I really didn't bring them all the way to here because this gets a little bit more shade, but this over here just gets more sun. Well, that is going to be it for today. I hope you found it helpful. If not helpful, I hope you at least found it entertaining. Now, make sure that you subscribe because we will be checking not only back in on the delphiniums, but you know I always do a full summer garden tour here, and I don't want you guys to miss that. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.